Hi, I'm Deepika Grover with Grover Mortgage Group.
And I'm Natalie Van Cardo with the Nat Nate Real Estate Team.
Welcome to our new podcast,
Real Estate of Mind,
where we discuss real estate, life, and everything in between.
We're excited for you to follow us and join in on our journey. Welcome back, Real Estate of Minders. Today we are sitting with Michael Schmidt, who is a home inspector with House Masters. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. We've always wanted to have an inspector on, so we're excited to hear from you. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got into the business and what you most love about your job?
Sure. Well, again, my name's Michael. I work with Housemaster Home Inspections, serving Toronto. It's the Housemaster franchise located in downtown Toronto, but serving the entire GTA.
Okay.
I got into the business about 9 years ago, and I was working in the film industry, actually, and wanted to make a career change. And I had some real estate investments and with my wife, and wanted to get into some kind of field that would mesh nicely with that direction that we were headed. And I had also managed some properties for my parents. And so I looked around. I thought about being a real estate agent. I thought about going into being a mortgage broker. And I landed on home inspection. I always enjoyed speaking with my home inspector when I was buying properties and learning from him. And he was a real critical part of the decision-making process. And I felt like I wanted to help people in the same way. And so it was a great fit.
Awesome. You know what? That's my favorite part of the transaction too, is the home inspection.
Yeah.
Because I follow the inspector around, I listen, and that's why I gain a lot of my knowledge too, is just like hearing what they're looking for.
Oh, and I gain knowledge from you guys.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot that I learned from real estate agents as well. You know, we all and from homeowners.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know this is off topic, but you said you were in the film industry. What were you doing? That's so interesting.
Well, it is and it isn't. Film industry sounds exciting, but it's a lot like any other business. But I worked in a lot of different aspects. My largest stint was working for a film distributor, and that's where I met my wife, and that's also what brought me to Canada.
Oh, very cool.
Well, my wife brought me to Canada.
So where were you working in the film industry?
Well, right before home inspection, I actually was working in the commercial side of things, so directing commercials.
Oh, very cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And why'd you want a career change?
I wanted something that was more dependable as far as like the day to day. So the commercial directing thing was going all right. I could see more and more jobs coming. I was building a client base, but there was a lot of time between jobs, and that can be stressful.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
For sure.
And also when I was on the job, it was all the job all the time. And so it was difficult to plan vacations. It was difficult to be there for, kids' events. My son at that time, I guess this is 10 years ago, so I had made the decision to kind of change careers a couple of years before that. So he was 10. You know what I mean? 10, 8, 9, 10. And so that's when he's getting busier with sports and, and school activities. And we had my daughter at that time was, relatively young. She was like 4. So more and more demands on the family and more times I wanted to be present for.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I know this answer, but I guess not many people do. How long does a typical home inspection take?
Well, the typical one's going to be about 3 hours. It's always going to depend on the size of the home and the type of property. But generally speaking, for your average size home, we're booking 3 hours, and we might be under some homes that have more defects to record, are in rougher shape. They may even go a little over.
Can you go through what a typical home inspection looks like for you? like what it entails for people who don't know, including myself?
Oh, sure. Well, at Housemaster, we are considered to be very thorough, and I would go so far to say more thorough than most home inspection companies.
I agree.
So we are going to follow industry standards, and by that I mean we're going to be starting on the outside. We're going to look at the roof. We're going to look at the exterior. That includes like siding, windows, and doors, decks, porches. We're going to be looking at the site grounds, particularly the way that they bring water runoff towards the home, because that's a large way that water finds its way into the basement. On the inside, we're going to be looking at interior plumbing, interior electric. We're going to be looking at the heating and cooling systems as long as we can run them. In other words, as long as the weather is in the right temperature to run, say, the air conditioner. We can run the heat all times of year. We're going to be looking at the interior finishes. So again, representative sampling of windows, doors, electrical outlets, switches, that kind of thing. We're going to be looking at we're going to be testing all the plumbing. So every tub, sink, shower, toilet, they're going to be flushed, run, drained.
Wow.
We're going to be, as long as it's safe to do so, we're going to be looking at the electrical panel. Opening up the cover, that is. We're going to be looking at the water heater. We're going to be looking at the foundation, both for structure and for leaks. That's something that goes above and beyond industry standards. You are required to look for water damage, but you're not required to, say, bring an infrared camera, a moisture meter. Those are two things that Housemaster does bring to every job, just as part of our package. So in other words, all in the price, free of charge. And we also look at the structure and this both in the basement, the foundation area, as well as in the attic.
Yeah. For the infrared, because I've done inspections where my clients wanted to use their inspector and they did not do that. And I'm always just like have so much comfort when we use you guys that you guys bring that along, because there could be like a leak from a toilet and you can see the stain marks, and just knowing that you can hit it, it's okay, it's dry. So that it also gives our clients kind of the satisfaction of like, okay, it's not recent, it's not an issue.
Sure.
That kind of goes like people don't realize how important that is.
So why doesn't everybody use these? Like, shouldn't there be an industry standard? Are you guys regulated at all?
There, two things. No, we're not regulated in Ontario.
Okay.
And two, there is an industry standard. Housemaster just goes above and beyond.
Okay, so industry standard is not using the infrared. You just use it because you like to be more thorough.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah. One thing I forgot, we also look at built-in kitchen appliances. So we look at kitchens. So you are required to look at plumbing and venting, but you're not necessarily required to look at kitchen appliances. That's another thing Housemaster does.
Yeah.
But back to the infrared. Infrared's a really powerful tool. We use it, and it's a great tool. I also feel like the best tool is our eyes, our knowledge, our experience. So while the tool is great, I don't want people to get too hung up on it. I think that you're right. Like, if it should give you confidence that your inspector is bringing it, and I'm glad that it does. But I'd also say that it's not the end-all, be-all. I would say that that there's other things that we look at, or how we look at them, that are maybe even more valuable than the infrared. And also, particularly because the infrared can be tricked, and it doesn't turn you into Superman. You know what I mean? So it is a very powerful tool. It gives you more knowledge, but you have to be able to interpret that. That's the other thing that I think that we have ahead of some of our competitors. Is it's very easy to go out and buy $1,200, $1,500, $2,000 camera. It's another thing to be trained on that. And so everybody who uses our camera, uses the cameras that we use, they've been trained on them, so they know how to use them. And that's even more important in my view.
And the report that you guys provide right then and there for your clients is extremely detailed. And I like the fact that it kind of gives them levels of like, this is high importance, this is not that important, should just be on your radar, that this could be an issue at some point in time. Do you want to speak to that?
Well, thank you. That's what we try to do. Our grading scale is, there's 5 basic grades, but really 3 primary grades that are on a level of urgency. So satisfactory, fair, poor. Poor is the most urgent. Satisfactory is not urgent at all, let's say. It helps guide clients to what's most important. You know, I think that's what's critical, and that's maybe the takeaway for any home buyer who's getting a home inspection or looking to get a home inspection is, what do I look at?
Yeah.
And I think that if I was to give advice, is know that as a home buyer or as a new homeowner, know that all homes have defects. There's no perfect home out there. All homes are going to have issues. It's really trying to figure out what are the most critical issues and what are the most urgent. And so that's what the grading scale tries to do.
Yeah.
But in addition to the grading scale, we also put the comments in there. So it's not just that it's urgent for this reason.
Yes.
Because things can be urgent, but they're low cost, you know what I mean, or easy to accomplish. Or they can be urgent and they're high cost and difficult to accomplish.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And those are maybe be the areas where I would say that's most critical for a homeowner. And that's also a benefit why homeowners should be there. I recommend homeowners are present. We get the most out of our service when they are present.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this report you provide to both the buyer and the seller?
No.
Or just the buyer?
No. In certain jurisdictions, it's interesting. I don't know of any place in Canada, although maybe on the West Coast it's the case, but I'm not certain, so I won't speak to that. But I do know in California, for example, it's required. You have to send the home inspection report to the seller. However, in Ontario, that's not the case. In most parts of the country or North America, it's not the case. And typically, we're only distributing it to the buyer and the buyer's agent. And with the client and the client's agent, because we also work for sellers.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. So who's responsible for fixing the issues? Like, say there's like 3 issues on there that are poor that need to be fixed urgently.
That's our job as realtors, to go back during the conditional period to negotiate if things need to be rectified.
But then doesn't the seller have the right to be like, I want to see the report? Like, what if I'm being lied to?
They could. So there's instances where if something is really like needs attention, I will just ask my client's permission, take a clip from what you guys provide. And sometimes there's even photos there too, so that they can see. And then I'll just share that with them. I use it as a tool as negotiating. So that's why I like that the report is so detailed. And I've seen other inspection reports and I was like, this is it. This is all we're getting. So I find it is like using Housemasters is a really great tool in helping me go back to the sellers and explaining why we think we need X dollars off to fix X, Y, and Z.
But that's so weird. Like, shouldn't the seller also have the report, like for transparency reasons?
Not necessarily. Like they're
like
not
it's their
paying for the
house
report,
technically,
but they have the option to do one as well. So like before you list, you could do a pre-list inspection, which during COVID that was huge, and during the big boom that was kind of huge because things were going to sell really quickly.
It's still huge in Toronto. It's always been big in Toronto.
So do you want to speak to what a pre-list inspection is?
Yeah, of course. Pre-listing inspection, sometimes referred to as a pre-inspection or a seller's inspection, is an inspection that is performed for the sellers, typically in advance of a sale, with the primary purpose of sharing that with a buyer as a way of disclosing the condition of the home, the current condition of the home, and trying to demonstrate transparency and build trust.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, there should be provided to both for transparency purposes.
So to that
So I like
point,
that. Okay.
I had an incident where it was a really old home. We're talking century home. We had, they provided us with a pre-list inspection. So I reviewed it and I could tell that it wasn't as detailed as what I would want my clients to have when they're purchasing such an old home. So we reviewed it. We went through the conditional phase and we also got our own inspection. And our inspector, Housemasters, found other items in there that were problematic, that were not fully reported in the other one. So you have to your agent really needs to provide you with good context of the pre-list inspection. And then depending on the age of the home, you have to decide if you want to do your own as well.
Would you recommend always getting your own done, even if there is a pre-listing inspection?
If it's a newer home and I'm reading the report and it's well laid out, Not necessarily. Like I would just
So
say
that's your job to advise.
I would assume it's my job to advise. It's also like the client's
Their
decision.
choice, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I would recommend always getting it.
Right.
You know, I'm a biased guy. I stand
Yeah.
to make a little money off that. But I would say it's in your best interest.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we do tons of pre-listing inspections. And so would I tell people to trust ours? Absolutely. Like we are going to perform our pre-listing inspections in the same way that we perform them for a buyer. We don't pull any punches. It's all going to be in there. You know what I mean? I would say the one difference that I do with a pre-listing inspection is that I'm even more specific. I'm even more choosy with my words because the buyer isn't present to talk to me about it.
That's true. Yeah.
And so pre-listing inspections oftentimes take longer for us to perform because we're taking that extra time with our words and with our choice selection of photographs or comments, because we have a database of like thousands of comments and we choose them and then we refine them. But I would say that with the seller inspection we refine them even more because again the buyer doesn't have us there. Now we will come back for a buyer, but I would say that is a very very small percent of the time.
So I was gonna ask, say you do a pre-listing inspection for a home, and then you end up getting hired for the same home from the buyer side too. Yeah. Would you say your reports would be quite similar for both?
Well, in the case that in the situation that you described, we're doing the same home in the same time frame for two different clients.
Right.
We're not doing the whole home inspection over again. So we have already performed the seller inspection. We provide a service where we'll come back for half price for a buyer to do a walkthrough.
Oh, that's very
And
good.
so the way the walkthrough works is like we're not completely doing the home inspection over again. It's really we're taking that, and the reason it costs half price is because we're taking half the time. So we regularly book an hour and a half, and it's really a discussion time. Like, hey, you've already read the report, but let's review it again. And let's go look at those things so you understand what you're dealing with.
That's very helpful.
You know? And in certain cases, we do look at things again. This is a great time of year to, as by way of example, is that yesterday I couldn't do an air conditioner. It was too cold. You know, it was close to 10 degrees. So technically you can't do an air conditioner. You could damage an air conditioner. So if I did, and I did do a pre-listing inspection yesterday. So if somebody brings me back for the buyer's inspection for the walkthrough, I will look at that air conditioner. In other words, I will run that air conditioner as long as weather conditions allow me to do so. So we're right at that cusp. Like if I did a pre-listing in April or beginning of May, and now now it's cold, but it's warmer typically at the end of May.
Right.
Now I can do that air conditioner. I will do that for them.
Yeah.
So some things are updated.
Is there a time frame that you would do a whole report again for the same house? Like is
I
90
would
days,
say
120
the
days?
longest that maybe has gone by where I come back for a walkthrough is maybe 6 months. But
wow.
But typically I would say like people are calling me like within a month or 3 months. If we get over that 6-month mark, there's a lot that can happen.
I was going
in
to say
6
even
months.
within 6 months a lot can happen.
There's a lot that can happen in 3 months.
Exactly.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
So at that point, yeah, we are doing a full inspection again.
So
you
if
know?
a client wants to pay you full price and says, no, I want you to do the whole thing, even though you did the pre-listing inspection, you'll do it, right? You'll be like, yeah, give me your money. I'll do it.
I'll really try to dissuade them from doing that.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Yes, of course.
Because it just we already saw it. Like the home hasn't changed that much in the last month.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
And the reason that I'm a Boy Scout. You know what I mean? Like I was an Eagle Scout. Like we well actually that's not true. I'm first class. But I come from a small Midwestern family. I was originally from the States, and now I'm proudly Canadian. I've been in the country for 20 years. But I can't. The reason people work with us is because we tell them the truth.
Love that.
We just don't take the money and run. We want to develop a relationship with our clients. We want to serve the community. We want to serve the realtors that work in it.
Love
You
that.
know?
Yeah.
So-
And you guys don't fear monger also. Like you'll say, okay, this is an issue. This is roughly when you should be, like an example would be like a roof. Your roof shingles, they're in pretty bad condition. They can last you the winter, but come spring, you guys should be replacing them. Like you give people logical timelines to do things and you don't overbear them with burden.
Well, thank you. I hope we do that. We try. That's another thing that we go above and beyond. It's a requirement within home inspection industry standards. Most of the standards of practice that are used, that you have to identify what the home is made of, and you have to identify what the defect is. So the material makeup, you have asphalt shingles, it's in this kind of condition. But you don't have to describe the age. But that is a very helpful thing for people to say that this type of shingle is going to last 20 to 25 years. We think it's midlife. We think it's 10 to 15 years old. You probably have about another 5 to 10 years left on it. You know what I mean? That helps people plan.
That's
Yes.
really helpful.
Yeah. But not all people do that.
No.
Not all
No,
home
they don't.
inspectors do that. Yeah.
What would you say should be a deal breaker that you find in a home for a buyer?
Oh, well, that's a tricky question. I take the perspective that it's not the home inspector's job to tell people what to do or not to do. There, my opinion, both like as a home inspector and just on a personal level, is that there's a home for every buyer. There's a buyer for every home. But I don't want to totally dodge your question. While it may not be my place to tell people what to do and not do, I would say that in general, structural issues and basement seepage or water leak related issues are often like big issues, big expense items, and things that aren't necessarily easy to correct, or you don't know if this is going to be a cascading effect of like further expenses, or another way of thinking about it is a can of worms that gets opened up.
Yeah.
So are you opening up Pandora's box with this particular problem? You know what I mean? Those are certainly the things to try to avoid. And that could be other issues as well. You know what I mean? But like, say the roof needs to be replaced, the shingles are shot. It's an expense item. That's pretty easily accomplished.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to have the money for it, or you have to like be able to budget it, or pay it over a period of time. But it's a solvable problem. You know what I mean? There's other things that are less solvable, and or their solution, it isn't exact. It takes more research, or opening up, or uncovering, or taking it apart and putting it back together. And those are the things that leave a lot more questions.
And like something that could sink a lot of equity into.
Yes.
Unknown equity. Like it would be like you don't know how much it could eventually be.
Yeah, like if you have a serious basement seepage issue, or if you have a serious structural problem with the foundation, that's something that we don't even attempt to ballpark prices. Or if we do like talk numbers on the course of inspection, we never put numbers in our written reports, but we'll ballpark things with the realtor and the client while we're on site. It will be very broad. You know what I mean? Like this could be 10,000, this could be 100,000, it could be plus. You know what I mean? And but you need to get it quoted. And sometimes, while people can quote, things can surprise them. This is what we think it is. You start digging, and you find something that's more problematic.
Have you ever had a situation where a deal fell through because of something that you found during a home inspection?
Yes, both on the small side and on the big side.
Can you explain? It's really interesting.
Well, my favorite story, this one they actually ended up buying it, but my favorite story about the home that almost got blown up was over a toilet.
What?
So yeah, there's like toilet gate. Yeah, so
Toilet gate?
Yeah, where basically there was like a push button toilet, and the push button didn't work, and it turns out that like one of the, I don't know what you would even call it, like one of the sticks or extensions on the button had snapped, and that home, condo, multi-million-dollar condo, almost didn't sell. You know what I mean? Over a toilet.
I feel like that's an easy fix.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those buyers must have been just very specific.
It could be both. It could be the buyers. It could be the sellers.
Why would the sellers?
Maybe they didn't want to fix it. I don't know.
The seller was very angry, and he blamed us, and I ended up buying the replacement part for that particular American Standard toilet. I know it's American Standard because I had to buy the piece.
No way.
That's very nice. If that was
You
going to blow
did
up
that?
the deal, I
Yeah.
would have bought it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
That's insane.
What do I want to say? I'm pretty resourceful person, and so American Standard, this thing breaks so often that they'll actually give you a free one.
Oh, no way.
So I called them to get a free one there, and they basically, I called to order one, and they just gave me it free. They gave it to me for free because they treated me like an owner.
Oh.
So basically, they record your name, they record your address, and then they're not going to continue to send it to you, but they'll send it to you once.
He's just getting this part at his house for a toilet he doesn't even own.
Yeah. So you just tell them the make and the model, and they sent me
Yeah.
the piece, and I came back and
Oh.
yeah.
But you're the hero. That's like, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's actually a crazy thing for a home inspector to do. Like, you're not even really involved in the deal at the end of the day. Like, you make your fee, but you're not making commission on the deal. And for you to do that, that's amazing. That shows how good your customer service is.
Well, thank you. Sadly, I break a lot of toilets. I've broken a lot of toilets. My son makes fun of me. It's a bit of a family
Inside joke. Okay.
Yeah. So just very briefly, I'll tell you two the situations. One time I was inspecting a sink. It was a very tight, like not code compliant type of closet bathroom. And I leaned down to look under the sink, and just my squat, just like it touched the toilet, and this thing just exploded. I don't know, like I have the strongest ass. Oh my God. And like, so just doing that squat, just sitting down.
Wow, your squats are strong.
I sat on the toilet, this thing just exploded. I went out and I bought that toilet seat. Yeah, I looked up the Canadian Tire, and I went and I got a new seat and brought that back.
Oh my gosh.
And another one, this is I've learned my lesson. This was early on in my career. This is something no home inspector does, is no home inspector checks the fans. They don't check the bath fans or the kitchen fans properly. So they turn it on and they listen for a hum. That's what most home inspectors do. So what I do and what my team does every time is we used to do this with toilet paper. Now we just, because not all homes have toilet paper, some are vacant, I bring a vegetable bag with me from the grocery store. And so I turn on the fan, and as long as I can reach it, some are very high. You get in some of these luxury properties, and they have very high ceilings. You can't reach them. You do have to just listen. But we take the vegetable bag, and we make sure that it gets sucked up into the fan, or, to the grate. We're not going to damage the fan. And so I've been doing that for years. A guy in Indiana taught me that, actually. I went and I visited him, and he showed me his routine, and I was like, that's a keeper. I'm going to do that. Yeah. And early in my career, I stood right on the toilet seat, and I'm not a heavy guy. I'm a pretty slight person. Like I would say I'm below average weight for my age and height. But went right through the toilet.
No.
Yeah, right through the toilet seat. Through the toilet seat. Yeah. So yeah.
This is a dangerous job.
Yeah.
Michael is risking his life every day.
Yeah. It was certainly an old toilet seat. It was very brittle, but I've learned my lesson. I don't step on toilet seats anymore. So I lift up the toilet seat. I step on the bowl from now on.
I think you need to bring somebody else in to do the toilets for you. Like,
Yeah.
I think you have some, you know.
Yeah.
What are some things that sellers can do to prepare for an inspection?
By the way, before I answer that question, I just have to say, I don't go around breaking toilets at all my home inspections. So this is a great anecdote. It makes for a great podcast piece, but this doesn't happen on every job. I'm very careful. No. I like I said, I'm a Boy Scout. I treat your home like I would treat my own.
No, we have no doubt.
So What was your question again?
What could a seller do to prepare for a home inspection?
That's a great question. I think sellers could do a lot more to prepare for home inspections. I
Oh.
don't feel like they put their best foot forward. And when you book with us, for anybody who's listening, you will get an email that will have a sheet of what we recommend you do. You know, I would say if you're an experienced listing agent and you are used to staging and painting and prepping your home, you don't need to listen to this. You can just, like put on fast forward and get to the next segment. But for those who are maybe, less experienced or starting out, like really take a cue from your veteran agents, getting everything nice and clean and organized and going through it yourself and having your own checklist. Some of these really experienced listing agents that I work with, they kind of do a mini home inspection before I even get there. So they're like finding problems with outlets and switches, and they're changing all the light bulbs, and you know what I mean? And like, these are things that speed up the process. And like, it's not like we're going to look at the home with a fine eye. We're going to take our time. But if you can imagine that, like, we're not bumping on things, every time we bump on something, we're looking at it a little closer.
Yeah.
And every time we're looking at it a little closer, like we're figuring out what we're going to say about that. And something's likely going to be recorded. So if you just do something simple, like I like to say that, like, we're experienced people. We're home inspectors are experienced people. We're knowledgeable people, but our work isn't rocket science. So like a lot of it is just opening and closing doors, flipping lights on and off, running the faucet and seeing if it leaks. These are all things that like an average person can do. If you just walk through your house and do those things, you could probably knock a lot of stuff off your home inspection list. And these are things that should not prevent a buyer from buying your home.
Yeah.
However, the cleaner your inspection is, the more your seller clients like it,
Yes.
and the more you like it. You know what I mean? And also, little things add up. Even if you don't have any real big things, if you have a home inspection report that's littered with a ton of small things, that can be a turnoff for people. So just those things, like I said, just walking through the house, operating the house, you know what I mean? Another thing that I would say is that, like, just simple things like turn on the furnace, make sure it's like for every single, here's a funny thing, you guys know this. Every single pre-inspection I've done ever, with few exception, always has a brand new filter in the furnace. Always has a brand new filter. That's the first thing a listing agent does. They go out, they get their filters, and they put a new filter in, even before they sign the contract. Like they have a new filter in that furnace. But like sometimes they don't actually turn on the furnace, and sometimes it doesn't work. No. So sometimes I show up to a home inspection and the furnace doesn't work, and I am put in the the not admirable position of telling the listing agent, "Hey, I'm sorry, your furnace didn't work. I have to put that in the report."
Oh
Yeah.
no.
And obviously the listing agent is get the furnace fixed. You can't sell a house without a heating source. And sometimes they bring me back to review it and update the report. But like just simple things like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Fireplace would be another good example.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Turn on that fireplace, make sure it works. You know
that's a
what I
good
mean?
one,
Like
yeah.
if it's a gas fireplace, like just like simple things. So often, like seller tells them that the fireplace is working. Home inspector gets there, he turns on the fireplace, it won't turn on.
Or you can't find the switch. That's the other
Or
part.
can't find the switch. But so often, the thing is that if you've had the fireplace off for a very long time, it's actually not good for the fireplace. Having the pilot run actually performed while it consumes gas. Also read that as wastes gas. It does serve a purpose, and that purpose, if you don't have that pilot on, it will rust your fireplace, and sometimes it's so rusty that it doesn't really operate properly anymore. Or it gets like cobwebs or dust or debris, and the gas can't actually go through the jets, and then it doesn't. The pilot might go on, but then the actual flame doesn't.
So
ignite.
you should be turning it on periodically to make sure it works.
Yeah.
Is what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or at the very least, if you're a listing agent, make sure it's working before
Turn
the
it
home
on.
inspector
Yeah,
gets
so
there.
true.
You know what I mean?
So true.
Yeah.
So, and then you were saying like light bulbs, like check that every single light bulb is working. That's a big
Well,
thing.
just change
It
change
is.
li-
Or
change
change light
change
bulbs if
light
they're not
bulbs.
working?
Change light bulbs.
Well, can you
know what I mean?
imagine you're going in to see a house and
Yeah.
you're flicking on the light and it's not turning on. So your initial thought is, oh, does this not work?
Right.
Where it could just be
But
the
what
light
if there's
bulb.
like 3 light bulbs in one like fixture and
That's
like
a pet
2 of
peeve of
them
mine.
wor-
Pet
and
peeve.
then one of them doesn't work?
When we're listing all the light, it should be as bright
Should
as
be as bright as
possible.
bright. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
As a home inspector, I'm not, I'm an experienced guy. Like you guys were saying, if there's a bank of pot lights and 6 turn on and one doesn't, or 5 turn on and one doesn't, like I'm not
Yeah.
writing that up.
Right, of
You know what I
course.
mean? But from a buyer's perspective, if a light bulb's out, this just happened to me yesterday. Like home on the market, luxury home, multi-million-dollar home in Scarborough, huge yard, it's a beautiful house, but there's so many light bulbs out. And every time I turn on the light,
Okay.
buyer's right behind me. He's like, "Do you think that's not working? Do you think the fixture?"
Yeah, you just
so
don't wanna
he
give them the thought.
the buyer is
And then you'll write that in the report.
not necessarily. If I think it's a problem, like in some cases when you got a bank of pot lights, I'm like, "Hey, look, the electricity is going there. This has to be that there's a burnout bulb." But sometimes you go into like a bathroom or you go into a bedroom and there's no lights. Is that the bulb or is that the
Electricity.
Is that the
Yeah.
electrical? Is that the switch? Is that the bulb? You know, I mean, we don't switch. Sometimes we can't reach fixtures. We certainly don't take things apart.
I was going to say, do you check the electrical at all?
Very rarely.
Okay.
Occasionally, if I can reach it, I'll flip the light on and off with a voltage tester.
Yeah.
But I can't be
right.
doing that at every fixture. Like this house yesterday, it's a 5,500 square foot home. You know what I
Right,
mean? Like
yeah.
they have millions of lights.
Yeah,
Like,
that would take like
there's
3 hours in
yeah,
itself.
there's so many lights. You can't do that for every single light bulb. Yeah.
Okay.
But these are like simple things that a seller could do before their house gets listed. Because like I find a buyer, especially after they put the offer in, it's been accepted.
They have, like,
and we're
buyer's
at the
remorse?
inspection, they're looking for things.
For-
They want to know everything.
100%.
So they're gonna like their mind's kind of going wild, and you just don't want to give them any reason
100%.
to overthink.
So I
Yeah.
have a question. Can somebody hire you? Like, say I'm thinking of putting my house for sale, but it's not going to be for like 6 months down the road, but I'm thinking about it. Could I hire you to do an inspection? And then you say this is wrong with your house. I fix everything. I put it on the market, and then I hire you again to do a pre-listing inspection. Is that a thing, or is that doing too much?
Well, people do that, but I wouldn't say exactly in the order that you described. So we wouldn't redo the entire thing. It's more that we update the existing report. And oftentimes that will be at a lower cost because you may not be fixing everything. But we do charge to come back. And again, we try to make it, in line with what work is being performed. So the less we do, the less we charge. The more we do, the more we charge. If we're doing the full thing over again, and sometimes that does happen, we will be charging full boat again. But also remember, we can't forget what we've already seen. And so if we see something, there are some issues that are particularly concerning and are difficult to fully erase. And in those cases, I'll just say it out loud, mold. If we find mold, it is not that we can say that mold just comes completely out of the report. It does depend on the situation, and I would say it's on a case-by-case basis, but it's more likely that rather than completely excise that part of the report out, we would amend the report to say something like, we came here, we found mold in this area, we returned, the homeowner produced a receipt from XYZ mold company. The work was performed on such and such a date, and it appears that the mold has been remedied. You know what I mean? That is, if it has been, because sometimes there's also the situation where they've been told that the mold has been remedied and we come back and it hasn't, So I would also caution people that if they're going to go through that type of scenario, that they make sure that the work was done and that it was done well.
Yeah.
So oftentimes, I would even go as high as 75% of the time, I come back and I'm told that the work has been completed.
And it hasn't been.
and it has, yeah, it hasn't been at all. Or that's also true. Sellers say something to the seller's agent and it's just not true.
Mm-hmm.
Or that it hasn't been done satisfactorily, you know? So in the case of mold, that is something where even if you hire a professional, sometimes they don't do a great job, or they do one area but not another area. You know what I mean? So you go and you're like, okay, I can see that you did the photograph that I include in the report. That's all totally clean. But then here, right beside it, it's still there. Like, why would you do this and not the other? Like, one thing to just like as a bit of what clarification or to lend specificity to this comment is when a home inspector puts a photograph or even a comment in the report, you should understand that that photograph is a representative of any and all issues that might revolve around that comment or that criticism. And so just because they include one photograph of mold in one part of the attic doesn't mean that the mold at the other side of the attic is okay.
Yeah.
You know, like all of that needs to be corrected. And same with water damage. So like we include one, like, you know, cherry-picked photo, which is the example. Like, well, the water damage on the other side of the room, that's also
Still
bad.
there.
You know, that's also bad. You also want to stop that leak.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, returning to your comment, as preparing as a seller, that is something that you can do. And we do that all the time. But I would say that better to kind of give it your own eye in advance. So that if there is a problem, and I'm not trying to say disguise mold or hide mold from the home inspector. Please don't get that from me. But that if you look at things in advance, there's probably not a lot that needs to be corrected.
So in terms of someone buying a new construction, a
Okay.
lot of people, they don't do a home inspection because it's not something that we can add in. But do you suggest that someone that bought new construction has closed on their home for having you guys to come out and do an inspection for them?
Or even before you closed on, like when you get occupancy and before you close.
That's more for condos, but for like a freehold, you don't.
Fair. You don't have
that
occupancy. Right.
period. No.
Right.
So we do home inspections on new construction all the time. I very much recommend it. And I recommend it for both homes and condos.
Yeah.
And while the occupancy versus closing may vary, like whenever you have the opportunity to do so, I would recommend doing it. The reason being is because you will have a carry-on warranty on almost all cases, and that warranty is a staggered warranty, so everything is covered over the first year, but a lot of things fall off after year one. And so you don't know what you don't know as a homeowner. And there's a lot of misses in new construction that you may not know you're entitled to. And so it's definitely worth getting a home inspection. There have been the nightmare scenarios where someone doesn't have like a nightmare, like it's solvable, but where there's just complete misses where go in the attic and there's no insulation in the attic. They just forgot, you know? And there's also the scenarios where like, you know, heating, venting and stuff like that is not done properly or safely.
Oh my God.
You know, I did a new construction recently, and while it didn't affect my clients because they're shorter individuals, the ceiling height from the stair to the ceiling, right immediately above the stair, was too short. It was below building code standard. And I should say that a home inspection is not a code compliance inspection, so you should not be looking at a home inspector or a home inspection as like getting every single code violation that exists. But it was noticeable enough to me as like, you know, let's say average size guy, I'm like just below 6 foot, to, you know, getting really close to the ceiling as I'm walking up the stairs to stop and say, hey, let me measure this. Wow, that's a good like almost foot shorter than what it should be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's a big miss, because how do you fix that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How do you, like in a 3-story townhouse, how do you fix that? So, and because it's a townhouse, you know that they did that for every single one. You know what I mean? So you should always get your, you should always get a home inspection. On
Yeah.
that
Well,
kind of
there's
stuff.
always PDI involved in new build, right? So can we call you in when there's PDI? Like,
You can call me in on a PDI or our team on a PDI. Now, I'll give you my opinion on a PDI, and then I'll share with you kind of part of the reason I have this opinion, and it's become very common these days. Is I don't recommend you bring the home inspector during the PDI. Okay. I recommend that you go to your PDI and you look for the cosmetic defects. You find the things that you find as a homeowner, and oftentimes these are cosmetic. It's really crucial to get the cosmetic stuff down out of the way. Once you move in, all those scratches, all those paint nicks, all that stuff, that's on you. The builder's going to blame you, right? And so so it's important to do that. The reason why I don't recommend bringing the home inspector is because it's not your house. And oftentimes the builder or the builder's representative will limit your time, and they'll even limit what you can do.
Yeah.
And it's gotten so bad in the past year that, like, I have gone into a couple situations. I have even had a problem and then told clients in advance, make sure they're going to allow me in. Make sure they're going to allow me to do my inspection, bring my tools, et cetera, et cetera. And I will show up and they'll say, yep, we got it. We signed an agreement. I don't know what they signed. Sometimes I've even signed something like it's gotten crazy where like all this legal documentation.
That's really shady.
It's weird. And then I show up, no ladder, no tools.
Yeah.
Sometimes no inspector. Sorry, inspector, go home.
Wow.
And so it's really a drag for me as a business owner and as someone who needs to make a living, but it's really a drag for the people who were expecting to have some professional guide them through the process and get some help and expertise to help them learn about their house and maybe learn what's wrong with it. You know what I mean? And here's the reason, and I'd love to know what you guys think about this, is that a lot of people bought pre-construction, particularly in the condo market when everything was rosy. And now there's a lot of people who are walking away because things aren't so rosy. Interest rates are higher. They can't afford it.
Appraisals aren't coming back.
Appraisals aren't, presumably they've already been approved, right?
Not always.
Oh, not always.
No.
Okay. Well, there you go.
I would say not a majority of the time.
Okay. Wow.
crazy.
Okay. So I didn't know about that. So they can't even get the loan. So they can't. So other thing, they can't get the rents that they used to get if they're an investor. So people are looking for any excuse to walk away. And I feel for builders. Like that sucks. These people are like, you had a deal and now they're walking away from your deal. So I understand builders are under pressure, but they are, in my view, they're approaching it totally the wrong way. They're making themselves look shady. Like, when do you start not trusting people, right?
Yeah.
Like when they start pulling things like, no, you can't look at it. You have to buy it. You know what I mean? Like, no, you're not allowed to have a ladder. You're not allowed to have a tool. You're not allowed to run the equipment. You're not allowed to, really do anything. And so I had one where the guy, no ladder, no tools. We all have to be in the room at the same time. So you can imagine how slow that inspection went. And we only have 2 hours.
Oh.
Yeah, this is for a house. This is for like a 3,000 square foot house.
Jeez.
So like basically the home inspection didn't get done.
But it makes
And
you think, like, what are these builders hiding?
Yeah, it does.
Well,
It does.
I know. So I always swore I worked for home builders. I said I was never going to buy a new build because we just love the characters of an old house and then bringing it to new.
Absolutely.
And for some reason, we bought new.
Your new house, yeah.
And I can tell you all of the stuff that we found on our own that's not up to code. And that's because I have a husband who's knowledgeable in construction. And even things after the Terrion that we've uncovered and the builders actually had to come back and fix because they are serious issues. They should be getting a home inspection done. I understand from the builder's point that during a PDI, they don't own the property yet, but wait till closing and at least get it done. So that way the buyer can get things done properly through the Tarion and use that warranty.
Yeah, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. Like I said, you don't know what you don't know.
Yes.
You know what I mean? There's things that I sometimes go to the 11th month. So they're getting their home inspection before the 1 year, which is great. So you didn't do it at the beginning, but you're doing it now. And I go, and none of the windows are caulked. So like these windows have just been like absorbing all the weather and water and like the snow melt that was on the windowsill and the wind driven rain that's like pushing against the house for a full year, 11 months.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean?
Can you speak a little bit on what the Tarion warranty covers? Because now I'm kind of stressed. I should have gotten an inspection on my condo, and it's just been over a year this month.
Yeah.
Is it too late to get an inspection done now?
Well, the condo one is slightly different. So I recommend you go to the Tarion website.
Okay.
But in general, and Tarion rules have changed
Yeah.
in the past year. And so now they have a new staggered period that I need to learn more about. But they used to have the 1 month and then the 1 year. And now I think they have
1 month.
the 1
3
month
months.
and the 6 month.
Yeah. 3 or 6, something
Maybe
like
it's
that.
maybe it's 3.
Yeah.
Maybe it's 4. I can't.
Yeah.
No, it's 1 day. It's 30 days.
Yeah.
It's 30 days, 6 months, and then it's like a year,
year.
and then like 7 years or something.
There's 2 years. Like I always get like emails from them.
Yeah, me too.
Of like you're hitting your 2-year mark. This is kind of what you should look for. That sort of thing.
But as far as like responding to them, it used to be like you respond in the first 30 days, which they would push to 40. And then after that, unless it's an emergency, like no heat, no water, flood, that kind of thing, they don't want to hear from you for a year. Okay. So that's the way it used to be. You know what I mean? And they might be processing things over that time. You found something in the first 30 days and they're processing. You can talk to them about that, but no new stuff till now they have, I think it's 30-day, 6-month, year, So it was to reduce them being inundated with homeowners that are just constantly on the builder. I can understand they need to have a process because you can't just, you give someone an inch, they take a mile, right? So like they had people that are just constantly on them. So they needed to have a step-by-step. But so everything is covered for the first year. Everything. Down to fit and finish. So that includes like cosmetics. But again, once you move in and there's a scrape on the floor, or there's a scuff on the cabinetry, or there's a paint that has like a nick in it or something, they're going to blame it on you. So that really, while it technically it's covered for the first year, it's really just covered for like until you move in.
Right.
You know what I mean? But everything else is covered for the first year. But after the first year, that goes off. All building code violations go off. Air conditioning goes off. A lot of stuff falls off. I think that year 2, it's just like electrical, plumbing, heating, structure. I think that's it.
And then structures for 7 years.
And then after 2 years, it's only structure.
Yeah.
Until 7 years. I think 7 years is like
Until
the
7
mark,
years.
right? Yeah.
Until 7 years. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, good to
Yeah,
know. Yeah, that's something I should definitely read up on. That's important to know for sure with new builds.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would absolutely get one on new builds. The other thing is that sometimes there's things that you worry about that aren't a big deal. And then you have someone who does this every day come in and they can say, hey, I know this isn't right. I know it's not perfect, but it is considered acceptable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And while that may not be exactly what you want to hear, at least it gives you some kind of understanding about what expectations are.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I find a lot of buyers they get caught up on the little things.
Yeah.
Where they could be easy fixes, and you kind of help them have ease of mind.
Yeah, and that goes for a home inspection. That goes for a new build.
Yeah.
But like sometimes it is one of those things where like, I don't know, you go into the garage and like, the mudding and taping isn't very pretty. Sometimes people don't like that. Well, it is just a garage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it is something where like that is considered acceptable, you know? And so it's sometimes like, you know, it's not always what you want to hear as a home buyer, but it's worth being able to focus on the big stuff.
But is there a price difference between new builds and older homes when you go to inspect them?
Okay. Yes. There is slightly. So, with older homes, there's often more to look at and there's more knowledge that we bring.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because old homes have old home problems. And so both because old homes take longer because there's more defects to look at and record, and they require more knowledge and experience, we do charge slightly more for older homes.
That makes sense.
But it is nominal. I would say that on average, you move out of downtown Toronto and you move out into the GTA, you have a larger home. Toronto, you have an older home, but it's smaller. So they kind of balance each other out.
And what's your typical pricing, like average pricing, just for everyone listening? So they
Average
can know?
pricing. So on average, our home inspections are running between $500 and $550.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but yesterday, I think I told you I did a rather large home. It was around $1,000. Okay. And takes longer. You know, bigger homes, they got more to look at. They got more bathrooms, more fireplaces, sometimes more electrical panels. Sometimes they have, when you get over 4,500 square feet, oftentimes they have 2 furnaces, 2 air conditioners, sometimes 2 attics. This home had an addition, so it had 1 attic and then it had a second attic for the addition. So, you know, so size matters. The larger the home, the higher the price.
Okay.
So, and then for a condo, currently we're charging $365 for a condo.
Oh, okay.
And that is up to 1,500 square feet. So again,
That's a really good price.
Sometimes we do luxury condos. The largest I've done was down on Harbor Square. It was 4,500 square feet. Really cool place. They had both city and water views, so you got both sides of the building.
Yeah.
But it was huge. It had 4 or 5 heating systems.
Oh my goodness.
The condo did?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So it actually took longer for a condo than your average size home, even though we're only looking at the interior of the condo plus the balcony. But at Harbor Square, they don't have balconies. Yeah, at least not the ones that I've done so far. I've probably done 5 or 6 there, but none of them have ever had a balcony.
Wow.
My favorite is when you guys inspect the old homes, because it's like almost uncovering a story of like the history of everything. Of like, oh, this could have been done at this time frame. They added this that could have been done around here. Like it's just really cool. I find like the buyers learn so much about the home that maybe the sellers didn't even know about.
Sure.
From just doing the inspection.
Yeah, it's fun. Like, listen, the reason I took this job, I told you I want to help people. I like meeting new people every day. I like being on my feet, and I like learning. And the great thing about being a home inspector is always seeing new and different things. Like, don't get me wrong, like I've done thousands of home inspections. You get homes, you pull up and you're like, okay, this is how I'm going to attack this house because this is where I'm going to go first. This is where I'm going to go next. I remember last home had this. I need to look for that on this home. So you look at certain homes and you kind of know how it's going to roll, but there's always something new and different. There's always a new way to screw up a house.
What is the most interesting thing that you've found in a home?
Oh, interesting? There's so many interesting things that I found in a home. But here's a good story. So I did this home earlier this year. It's a condo townhouse. And it's probably from almost 30 years ago. So you have probably seen these condo towns that have like a combination furnace or a water furnace where they're using the water heater, oftentimes a tankless water heater that is providing hot water for bathing and cooking, but also it is providing heat for the air handler. So in other words, the water goes from the tankless water heater to the air handler or the heater to produce the heat. The heat is not produced by firing gas. Like the water is being heated by gas, but the air is not being heated by gas like with a traditional gas-fired furnace. Okay, so that's become very common in condo townhouses, and even to a certain degree in some home applications. But it's very common in condo townhouses, and this was an older one. So I go in and I start my routine, and there's not a lot to look on the outside. So I'm like whipping through it. I go to the kitchen. First thing we do is we go to the kitchen because we turn on the dishwasher because that takes an hour and a half to run. And dishwasher's running. There's hot water coming out of the sink. Like I'm writing up my report, all this. Not a very big place. So I go to the basement. And on my way down to the basement, I turn on the heat. Because now I'm going to look around the rest of the house, and I turn on the heat so then I can feel the airflow, and I can feel if it gets hot, you know? And I start walking around, feeling the vents. The vents are starting to get warm. Heat it up real quick. Great. You know what I mean? This heater's working good. While I'm walking around, I go to the basement. I duck my head in. I see where the boiler or the water heater is and the air handler. And then right beside it is a bathroom. So I go to the bathroom and I turn on the sink. I flush the toilet and I start the shower because I'm just running all the water. I'm real quick. I'm real efficient. And I come back to the sink, and after I do that, and the water's still cold. And I'm like, what the heck? Why is the water cold? And sometimes you have reversed hot and cold taps. So I switch the handles around. Still cold. I let it run a little longer, flush the toilet. Maybe I write some notes. Still cold. What's going on in the shower? Shower's cold. Like, what the heck? I go up to, so at first I was like, well, maybe the hot water isn't hooked up. I look underneath the sink. Like there's no hot water under the sink. You know, I'm going through all the things. I go up to the kitchen. Do they have hot water?
Yeah.
No more hot water at the kitchen sink.
Oh, no.
I know that there was hot water at the kitchen sink
Yeah.
before. So I go into the furnace room, or, you know, the utility room, because it's not a true furnace. And I'm like looking at the piping, and there's not anything abnormal, but it's all really tight and packed in there. And I had the theory that, like, hey, maybe this furnace is stealing all the hot water before it can get to the plumbing. And that's exactly what was going on. So I turn off the heat and I have hot water again.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So you can't have heat and hot water at the same time.
Can't have heat and hot water at the
So
same
what do they
time.
do in
In
the
the
winter?
Yeah. Well, that's a funny thing is I love real estate agents, and some of them are friends, and I know hundreds and hundreds of them, and I know you guys have hard jobs, so I don't want to criticize. But one thing that one of my favorite things about real estate agents, always putting a good face on everything. Always putting a good face.
It's always know how to switch,
Yeah.
you know?
So of course I was representing the buyers on this one. And so the buyers understand that this is a big problem.
Yeah.
And they're going to bring it to the attention of the seller. So the seller gives me a call, or the seller's agent gives me a call. Oftentimes when sellers' agents call home inspectors, it's not a good call. You know, so I was expecting to get my ass chewed. And because I found something that was blowing up the deal or whatever it might be. But actually this guy was super nice. He was super nice. He was a pro. He knew that that's what I thought.
Yeah.
And so he was going to overcompensate by being really friendly and really open. and he's a good guy.
Yeah.
He wants to solve the problem. He wants to sell the house. Okay. Which at the end of the day, that's what you guys want to do. Right. And thankfully, I'm not negotiating for my buyers, but that's what my buyers want to do as well, right? They want to buy the house, and that agent wants to sell the house. So we're talking about this, and he's like, "Hey, so I understand. Explain this problem to me. What's the issue?" And so I explained it to him, just like I explained it to you, and that the boiler is stealing hot water before it can be consumed. And I said, never seen this before. I've done a lot of these. I do a lot of condo townhouses downtown. I live near Liberty Village. I've been in every building down there like multiple times. I've seen this throughout the GTA. Yours is very old, and my assumption is that either there's a valve with it, which is within the plumbing, that isn't operating properly. So in other words, the water's going one way, but it can't go back the other way. There's some kind of check valve that isn't functioning properly, or the plumbing is too tight. It isn't long enough. You need some kind of like loop so that the furnace can't steal all the hot water. And he says, well, Michael, this is not an issue. This is consistent throughout the building. All the apartments behave this way. And I'm like, well, I understand that it might be common, but still it's an issue. And we kind of like, bat it back and forth, and he has his position and I have my position. So real estate agent and I batted back and forth a little bit, and he tells me that this is a common problem in the whole complex. This is happening at every building. And so, I explained to him, while this is common, this is still unusual. And you can understand that when someone wants to take a shower, like they can't because the heat is on, and vice versa, well, actually not vice versa. The heat was stealing it. So the heat was always working. It was just when it was working that the plumbing wasn't, the hot water wasn't. And he explained that, like, hey, one solution was that they have repiped this and added this loop. This was kind of one of my theories, was that if you add this loop, extend the piping, it will allow it to share the water more. But he's like, but Michael, in this home, they don't need to worry about this. And this is what I was talking about with always putting a good face on things. And he said, they don't need to worry about this because the homeowner actually, at her own expense, has installed a Nest, and it is synced with her phone. So whenever she wants to take a shower, she just turns off the heat.
Oh no. But then she's going to be cold when she gets out of the shower.
Yeah,
that's my biggest fear.
Exactly. So
I love real estate agents.
Yeah.
That's putting a bad rap on real estate agents.
Yeah.
No. Anything in sales, like, you do switch. Like, I do that all the time too, right? You switch it around.
Like I don't criticize him. You know what I mean? And like I said, he was a total pro and like such a nice guy.
That's hilarious.
And the sale went through.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They figured out what they needed to do. He found the solution. You need to make this loop, like,
or use your Nest.
Yeah, or use your Nest. But I just thought that was so great, like that. Like, hey, you just use your Nest. You just shut it off. You just use the app.
I love that. I actually love that though.
Yeah.
I really love that. What a positive guy.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's
But
really
that is one of the more interesting things that I've seen. But I've seen some really interesting bad things. But
Yeah.
Well, at least it didn't let the deal fall through, which is good.
Yeah.
Right.
I would say listen, I find that home inspections are a valuable tool to help you make a decision. Hopefully, maybe even negotiate. Particularly now, buyers have more leverage. Can maybe help you negotiate. Maybe even get a better deal, and it can help you prepare.
Yeah.
You also get it for that once in a million where you just shouldn't buy this house. But that is the once in a million. It's very rare that like a home is so bad that you just shouldn't buy it.
I've only had that once.
Yeah.
One time. And that was like the age and what it needed in order to bring it up to code to today.
Yeah. It's very, very rare where there's like very significant structural or systemic problems in a house where it just isn't worth it. You
Okay,
know
well,
what I
that's
mean?
good. I thought it would happen more often for some reason.
No. There are big things. There's knob and tube. There's new roofs. There's basement leakage. There's plumbing leakage. But these are all things that, like, if it's your dream home, if it's the neighborhood you want to be in, like, you can't rebuild that neighborhood, right? You know what I mean? So, like, most things you can overcome to really get what you want. You know? I would say, like, that's maybe the biggest takeaway for a home buyer is that home inspection is important, but, like, think about why you're doing it and just know that no home is perfect. This is about getting information to help make your decision. This isn't about, am I going to walk away or not? You know what I mean? like, if you need to walk away or not, like, yeah, hopefully we solve that and save you from that tragedy. But more often than not, that's not the end result.
I find it's a useful tool for the buyers to, again, gain knowledge, confidence, and then also devise a plan of what they need to prepare for their home, taking care of it in the next couple of years.
Absolutely.
Because they are starting on a journey of taking care of a house. And for a first-time home buyer, it's very new to them.
Yeah.
But it does take upkeep. So welcome.
Yeah. Even things as simple as like, where do I turn off all the power? Where do I turn off all the water? What's this thing? That's your water heater. What's this thing? That's your furnace. You know what I mean? People don't know the difference between a water heater and a furnace, honestly. And I don't judge, like I was there at one point. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it's good to learn these things because once you learn them, they're all built by people. That's the other thing I tell people. All these things are built by people, and they should be something that you can understand and fix or maintain,
Another thing, last thing I wanted to ask was, you have a lot of knowledge, obviously, in your industry. Did you have to go to school or get a certification? What does that look like in order to become a home inspector?
That's a great question. So there's what I did, and there's what, and then there's what you have to do.
Okay.
And the shocking truth in Ontario is that you don't have to do anything.
No way. I could literally just go become a home inspector. I have zero knowledge and I could become a home inspector.
That's why it's so important to like know who you're dealing with and their knowledge background.
Yeah.
But that's kind of scary.
It is. So you can just put your name on a business card and call yourself a home inspector. There's no licensing. There are organizations. There's like in Ontario, there's Ontario Association of Home Inspectors. In Canada, there's the Canadian Association of Property and Home Inspectors. There's international organizations like InterNACHI. There's various organizations that offer different accreditations based on your membership and your experience level. But in Ontario, other parts of the country, it's different. BC, Alberta, it's different. Other parts of the states, you do need to be licensed as well. But in Ontario, no, you do not need to be licensed.
That's crazy considering how much real estate there is in Ontario.
Yeah.
Like it's a big part of our economy here.
That's why
that is so wild to me.
Yeah. So that's why there's a difference when I'm looking at a report of like, this is an experienced inspector or this is someone that either doesn't have as much knowledge or isn't giving enough detail.
But that's bad because the buyer is probably paying you versus some inexperienced guy the same amount of money. So that sucks on their end that they're not getting the full picture. That's so sad.
It's
what
absolutely
the heck?
true.
I hate that.
It's absolutely true. So it is good to know, like, is your home inspector educated? How are they educated? Are they accredited? We're certified. So we're certified through an organization called the National Institute of Building Inspectors. So basically, we need to have a certain amount of education. We need to do a certain amount of home inspections, and those reports need to be peer reviewed. And then based on that, they will give you the certification. And at NIBI, you're recertified annually. So you have to take in a test each year. That's not the case for all certifications. That's why we prefer NIBI at Housemaster. But I will relate it to this is like, think about, so it's good to work with a home inspector that knows what they're doing and is experienced, just like it's good to work with a real estate agent that knows what they're doing as experienced. I get so fed up with comps in my neighborhood, particularly because I kind of like keep track on like how my home sits. And I do a lot of homes in my neighborhood, and they all sell for around the same price. If they're the same size and the same number of bathrooms, and they're all around the same price, but some are good homes and some are not good homes. You know what I mean? And I think that like a real estate agent can look through the comps and they can be like, but no, this is higher value because this doesn't have the problems that home has. And because the comps don't always tell the story. They're getting the high price because they're lucky enough to be next to the good house down the
100%.
street. You know what I mean? And so, and a home inspector is kind of the same way. You know what I mean? Like, not all home inspectors are created equal. You know what I mean? And, well, maybe they're created equal, but they're not all equal. They're not all educated the same. And so it really does take finding the right one, doing your research, or finding them through someone you know and trust, like your real estate agent, like a family friend, like a mortgage broker, or real estate lawyer, or looking at what other people say. Go online, look at their reviews, you know. I'm happy to say that we have some of the most positive reviews in all of the city for my Housemaster office. So we have over 750 very positive Google reviews from clients over the past 8 years, because we try to do a good job every day, you know, and because we do a good job, people like what we do. And so that's more than any other home inspector in the GTA and maybe even Ontario.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So that's my plug for Housemaster. But you can
No, we love that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
But definitely do your research because they're not all trained the same way. For example, I was telling you about the infrared camera. We went out and we got training for that. We do asbestos testing. We went out and got trained for that. You don't need to.
But not everybody gets it.
Yeah, yeah.
But
mold,
I just
mold.
for
Like we got
me,
trained for mold. Yeah.
I can't fathom how you could possibly do this job without any training or any knowledge. That's why I am so confused right now in my brain.
Well, to give an example, so Ray, we met each other through Ray, and he did an inspection on a Century home for me. He went up to the attic. This was the same one where the sellers had the pre-listing inspection done. He went up to the attic, found vermiculite insulation. Very calmly, he grabbed a bag, grabbed a sample, zipped it up, came down, explained it to my clients and said, we need to get this tested for asbestos. It's vermiculite insulation. We just want to make sure. And he gave the background of everything. So my clients were nervous, but also confident that it could go either way. So we got it tested and then the sellers got it tested and happily we came to the same result that there was no asbestos. But like any other person could have fear-mongered or not found it like the first inspector, he didn't find it.
Sure.
So it's very important to have somebody that is knowledgeable.
This is freaking me out.
Why is it freaking
It
you
needs
out?
to be more regulated. This is crazy.
I agree.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
This
I
is
100% agree.
crazy. I can't believe you don't have a sorry, I know you do, but I mean, I can't believe it's not mandated to have a certification. Of this,
A lot of people
considering how important of a job it is.
I absolutely agree with you. I think it would be better for the industry. I think it would be better for home buyers. It has a long history in Ontario. Home inspectors have been fighting for it for years. There actually was a law that was passed. It just has not gone into practice. So they need to create the body that is going to govern this organization that's going to license home inspectors. But it's been on the books for years and has not made any progress.
Let's start it. Right?
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I'm going to start a petition or I'm going to
We're
become
gonna
like
do
an
it.
advocate for home inspectors.
Sure.
But no, I know who I will be contacting if I ever need a home inspection because most of them are not even certified. So I will be contacting you.
Well, thank you. We'll do a good job. Yeah, we'll do a good job for you.
Thank you so
Well,
much for your
thank you
time.
for coming. This was so informative for me. As I was
Yeah.
saying, because I'm a mortgage broker, I don't deal with the home inspection side of things. I just get the waiver of fulfillment of conditions
Yeah.
from you guys saying it's all done. So this was very knowledgeable to me. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Where can people find you?
Oh, thank you. By the way, it's been a pleasure being here. I've really enjoyed the conversation. And if there's ever an opportunity in the future, I'd love to come again and
For
share
sure.
more stories. But where can you find me? So probably the easiest place is you can look at us online, housemastertoronto.com. That's
Okay.
our business address. We serve the entire GTA and
Okay.
beyond. So not just Toronto. You can also look us up on Google. So Google Housemaster Serving Toronto. We're the one with the 750 plus Google reviews.
Love that.
Amazing.
We will put that information in the show notes.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Excellent.
much.
Thank you
Yep.
so much.